Good afternoon and welcome to IBA News this Monday, the 5th of September. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy, joining you live from Jerusalem. We opened with the tragic collapse of a building under construction at the Ramat HaChayal neighborhood in Tel Aviv this morning. 2 people were killed and at least 5 are still thought to be trapped under the rubble of the parking lot that caved in. Emergency crews are on hand at the site on the corner of Hanachoshet and Habarzel streets in Ramat Aviv. IBA's Ari O'Sullivan filed this report a short time ago.
Since 11:30 this morning, emergency workers have been carrying out a rescue operation to evacuate the injured and save the unknown number of trapped from inside the construction site in Tel Aviv's Ramat HaChayal neighborhood. Initial reports said the collapse was sparked after a construction crane fell, but later reports said it was the building that gave way first, causing the crane to topple across the unfinished structure. In any event, the structure caved in, burying an unknown number of workers, some of them Israelis and some Palestinians, trapped under concrete, iron, and sand. Medical crews were able to evacuate at least 9 injured men. The building site is next to Asuta, a private hospital, but the injured were evacuated to the Ichilov Medical Center. One of them was listed in serious condition with a blow to the head, and about 18 others were treated for various injuries, mostly orthopedic, doctors said. Some workers trapped inside the structure managed to telephone emergency crews from the rubble. Some dozen workers were rescued within the first hour after the collapse. The Israel Defense Forces search and rescue teams, including sniffer dogs, converged on the scene to help rescue any civilians. The building is a multi-layered parking lot, which after the collapse resembled a crater-like hole in the ground. It is the hub of a high-tech business area and restaurants, and police are asking curious bystanders to keep away as they continue with their rescue efforts. Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
As we said, since the filing of that report, 2 of the seriously injured workers succumbed to their wounds, and we pray for the speedy recovery of the injured and rescue of those still trapped. An attempted car ramming attack was foiled overnight at the Shuafat refugee camp in northern Jerusalem. 2 Palestinians in a car tried to run over police and border police officers as they were leaving their base. No soldiers were injured. The troops responded by firing at the vehicle, killing 1 of the attackers and injuring the other. The wounded assailant was taken to the Hadassah Mount Scopus Hospital in light to moderate condition. The IDF last night targeted artillery launches in Syria in response to a mortar that landed earlier inside Israel, apparently a spillover from internal fighting in Syria. The Syrian mortar shell exploded near Al-Faran in the central Golan Heights. No injuries or damage were reported. The Israeli Air Force says it fired back at rocket launchers belonging to the Assad regime, reiterating that it holds Damascus accountable for any attack originating on Syrian soil. The IDF said it will not allow any attempt to affect Israel's sovereignty or the safety of its people. A Syrian army source later confirmed that damage was caused by the IDF strikes near Quneitra. Trains returned to operation last night after the completion of work suspended Friday night when the Prime Minister ordered they be halted over Shabbat. The first train to Haifa from Tel Aviv was briefly delayed mid-journey when it hit a wild boar on the tracks. While the Prime Minister very publicly admonished Transport Minister Israel Katz yesterday for allegedly creating the crisis, a Reshet Bet poll reveals 43% of the public blames the Premier for the disruption and only 19% blame Katz. 63% of the public opposes Netanyahu's cancellation of construction work on Shabbat, according to a Channel 2 poll, and only 17% agreed that Netanyahu should fire Katz, a prospect that was pushed off by a reconciliation meeting between the minister and the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff yesterday. With the Prime Minister at odds with Katz, who normally fills in for the Prime Minister when he is abroad, and with Ministers Erdan and Lieberman also abroad, the job of acting Prime Minister will now go to Tourism Minister Yariv Levin when Netanyahu departs for the Netherlands tomorrow. Sticking with diplomacy, Prime Minister Netanyahu has accepted the invitation of Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop to visit Down Under next year. As and when he goes, he will be the first Israeli Premier to visit Australia. Bishop arrived yesterday for a 2-day visit to Israel and the Palestinian Authority. During her stay in Jerusalem on Sunday, she met with the Prime Minister, Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman and President Reuven Rivlin, discussing global and regional security issues and the resumption of peace talks with the Palestinians. She also visited the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum and today traveled to the West Bank for a meeting with Palestinian Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah. Bishop did not meet Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, who is currently on an official visit to Poland.
I just want to greet you and say that your friendship is terrific. Australia, the government, and yours personally, and we appreciate our friends.
I want to take this opportunity to reaffirm our absolute enduring commitment to the State of Israel and our friendship, and invite you to come to Australia. And we're thinking there's a little window of opportunity early next year maybe, and the Australian public would warmly embrace you, welcome you. I also think that our relationship has the potential to enter into new fields of endeavour, particularly in innovation, where Israel is a world leader. We are delighted that our new innovation agenda adopted by the Australian government and embraced by the Australian people through the last election will see a landing pad in Tel Aviv, which I'll visit tomorrow, which shows that Australia has much to learn from Israel in the area of science, research and innovation, but we have much to learn from each other.
Israel and the Palestinian Authority have signed a memorandum of understanding to upgrade Palestinian postal services in the West Bank. The agreement was signed at the civil administration by the coordinator of government activities in the territories, Major General Yoav Mordechai, and the Palestinian Minister of Civil Affairs, Hussein al-Sheikh. In a statement, the coordinator of government activities said the deal will gradually regulate the direct transfer of mail from around the world to Palestinian areas through the Allenby Bridge from Jordan, instead of being distributed directly to local Palestinian post offices by Israel. It will also allow direct mail transfers between Israel and PA-governed areas and permit the Palestinian postal services to conduct foreign financial transactions without going through Israel. The head of the predominantly Druze local council of Julis in the Western Galilee, Salman Amer, has turned himself into authorities after he allegedly shot and killed a man who apparently tried to attack him this morning outside City Hall. The incident appears to have been the result of an ongoing dispute between the two. Eyewitnesses said that the victim, a 45-year-old contractor, attacked Amer with an axe in the plaza of the municipal building. The council head allegedly fired in self-defense, seriously injuring the man. Magen David Adom paramedics tried to resuscitate the man at the scene, but he was later declared dead. Amer initially fled the scene, but claims he acted in self-defense. Tomorrow he will be brought to court for an extension of his remand. Former President Shimon Peres underwent a successful operation this morning to implant a pacemaker device to regulate his heart rate. The 93-year-old veteran statesman underwent the medical procedure at the advice of his physicians at the Tel Hashomer Medical Center in Ramat Gan. His staff say he is in good condition and is expected to be discharged from hospital tomorrow morning. Every cloud has a silver lining, even if it's a cloud of smoke from an exploded satellite. Following the destruction of the Israeli satellite Amos 6 on the launch pad in Florida last week, the Science, Technology and Space Ministry has held an emergency meeting with the heads of Israel's space industries, paving the way for a long-term national space policy to get the industry back on its feet. Israel is considered a small superpower when it comes to producing spy satellites, but it's a competitive market when it comes to communication satellites, up against companies in France, Russia and the United States, which are backed by government funding. Science, Technology and Space Minister Ophir Akunis convened the nation's top industry officials last night. With no other satellites currently on order from the Israel aerospace industries, Akunis said efforts had to be made to preserve and support the industry and manufacturing know-how. A committee headed by Israel Space Agency Chairman Professor Yitzhak Ben Israel and Agency Director Avi Blasberger is expected to present its recommendations within 10 weeks. The Amos 6 satellite, which was set to launch on Saturday, was in part expected to operate on behalf of Facebook as part of the company's initiative to expand global connectivity, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. Joining us now in the studio to discuss the explosion and other cyber issues is Dr. Tal Pavel, expert on internet and cyber threats of the Middle Easternet website. Dr. Pavel, welcome.
Thank you.
We saw the explosion, the dramatic explosion of the Amos 6 satellite in Florida. How big of a loss is this really for Facebook?
Well, it is very interesting because we know that Facebook is a continent with 1.6 billion citizens, more than a citizen in China. And now they wanted to not only give us access to social network, Facebook, but also to give us access to internet, to the infrastructure, the basic infrastructure of the net itself. How by launching this satellite, or by be part of this launching of this
Is this a
satellite.
temporary setback or a serious setback for Facebook?
Well, it was kind of a new project to deliver the internet to 14 African states. And we can see it's not the attempt only of Facebook. We saw several years ago another attempt of Google to create, to deliver the internet to isolated places in New Zealand.
So are we expecting Facebook to bounce back?
Well, probably in the near future. I don't see how they manage to create another project to deliver the internet to those African states. But I think that the things that should make us worry about is not the situation of Facebook, but our situation, our anonymity, and our privacy in the future, when Facebook will not deliver us only
But
advertisements.
is in fact controlling a vaster
They
internet
will control
infrastructure.
the infrastructure on the internet.
Briefly staying
Yeah.
with the MOS6 before we discuss privacy issues, it's difficult to look at these images and imagine this was the result of a technical malfunction. How likely is it that this explosion was the result of sabotage, as some are suggesting?
Well, it can be. We saw several incidents in the past that cyber malwares, all sorts of viruses create physical damages to infrastructure, and the well-known situation was in Natanz factory in Iran, the Stuxnet, which created difficulties to the nuclear program of
Could something
Iran.
similar have happened here?
Well, there are lots of institutions here in Israel and elsewhere abroad that should regard and prevent this situation. But if you ask regarding if it can be situation in the near future or in the future that things like this in the future will happen, that a satellite will have
But nothing right now to indicate
no,
this was the
no
result
one,
of
no one
sabotage.
blame and no one said that this explosion made by a cyber warfare or any kind of
Well, I'm
malware.
sure that possibility will be explored very closely. But back to the question of privacy you raised, we know that Facebook is about to start drawing data from WhatsApp, which it owns, in order to improve or enhance its targeted ad system. How concerned should we be about Facebook drawing data from WhatsApp in such a way?
I think very much, and our concern should be not now that Facebook will promote us advertisement on WhatsApp. These worries should had to be in the past when Facebook acquired WhatsApp, because now if you add someone to your contact list and you chat with him on WhatsApp, after several hours, you will see him and people you may know in Facebook. So there is
Interesting.
linkage.
I'd always wondered how that was happening.
Yes,
but specifically
there is
with regards then to WhatsApp, we know that users can, by going into their privacy settings, make sure that WhatsApp doesn't pass on information to, at least beyond what they're doing now. But
Supposed to be.
Supposedly. But I mean, it's very difficult in the modern age to go completely off grid.
Definitely.
What can people do? What practical steps can they take to ensure that they're protecting their personal data while still enjoying the benefits of interconnectivity?
Well, as I see it, in the near future, in the medium future, we'll be in completely different situation as individual societies, businesses, and even states, in which we'll have to redefine what is anonymity, privacy, what is censorship, what all those terms, we'll have to define them once again. Because if we have a lot of leaks from governmental institutions, there is no privacy currently. So what can we do? We'll have to consider all those data that we share with Facebook, with Google, on posts that we
To be much more
Facebook.
circumspect about what we're sharing.
Yes, and there is no rollback. We can't leave Facebook. We can't leave Google.
Very. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. All we have time for. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you. The giant panda is no longer endangered. With an estimated 2,060 pandas and counting worldwide, the animal has been upgraded to vulnerable following decades of work by conservationists and China to boost the population of its national animal. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature warns, however, that with climate change expected to wipe out a third of the global bamboo habitat in the next 80 years, panda numbers are set to decline again. The adjustment of the red list also saw the eastern gorilla, the world's largest primate, listed as critically endangered owing to a surge in illegal hunting, which has whittled down eastern gorilla numbers by 70% over the last 20 years to just 5,000 worldwide. This means 4 of the world's 6 great apes are now critically endangered, alongside nearly 24,000 other species of plants and animals threatened with extinction. A bit of culture now, and the Hebrew Music Museum in Jerusalem has opened its doors with a collection of musical instruments from across the diaspora. The state-of-the-art museum hands out tablet devices to visitors who can point them at some of the 260 folk instruments on display and hear them play. The museum comprises 7 rooms representing various diaspora communities, including Andalusia, the Balkans, Morocco, Eastern Europe, Africa, Iraq, Yemen, and more.
We collected music from all around the world, from the journeys of the Jewish nation, from the diaspora, from the different areas, from Central Asia, from Europe, from Morocco, from Iraq, from the Balkans. We collected music instruments from all around the world to tell the story of how the music evolved throughout the years. Like the Israeli kitchen, that is a mixture of different kitchens from all around the world. It's exactly the same with Israeli music. The music is collected from all around the world, and in this museum, over 260 instruments that you can listen to each of any one of them, and we basically told a story of how the Jewish music was created throughout the centuries.
In finance, the stock exchange is up and the shekel is mixed, with the pound poking back up above the 5 shekel mark again. In weather, the next few days should be partly cloudy. Temperatures will drop slightly tomorrow and plateau through Wednesday. And that's all for today. Join us again tomorrow. I'm Elon Aslan Levy, and it's a good evening live from Jerusalem.